Good morning. Today we are looking at all of Genesis chapter 31. And as always, I want to encourage you to read the entire chapter carefully because it teaches us about obedience in transition, confronting conflict, and trusting God when relationships are strained. The chapter opens in verse 1 through 3 with tension rising again between Jacob and Laban's household. Laban's sons accuse Jacob of taking what belongs to their father, and Jacob sees that Laban's attitude towards him has changed. Yet the key turning point comes in verse 3 when the Lord says to Jacob, "Return unto the land of thy fathers, and I will be with thee." The decision to leave is not based merely on tension, but on God's direction. And when God speaks clearly, obedience requires us to move, us to do what he tells us to do. In verses 4 through 13, Jacob explains to Rachel and Leah how Laban has treated him unfairly, changing his wages repeatedly. Yet Jacob also testifies that God has protected and blessed him. He recounts the dream in which God confirmed that he had seen Laban's treatment and would bring justice. This shows us that God sees what others overlook. Divine faithfulness stands behind human unfairness. In verses 14 through 16, Rachel and Leah agree to leave with Jacob. They recognize that their father has not acted honorably. The family prepares to depart quietly. Yet, in verses 17 through 21, Rachel secretly takes her father's household idols. This detail reveals lingering spiritual confusion. Though God is clearly at work, the presence of idols shows that the faith in the household is still growing and imperfect. In verses 22 through 30, Laban pursues Jacob, confronting him about leaving secretly. God intervenes in a dream, warning Laban not to harm Jacob. This is another reminder that God protects his purposes. Even when human conflict escalates, God restrains what could become destructive. In verses 31 through 35, the issue of the stolen idol surfaces. Rachel hides them, and Laban searches unsuccessfully. The irony is powerful. Idols that must be hidden and protected reveal their own weakness. They are powerless compared to the living God who is actively directing events. In verses 36 through 42, Jacob finally speaks openly about the years of hardship he endured. He recounts his labor, sleepless nights, and Laban's repeated dishonesty. Yet Jacob ends by acknowledging that God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac was with him. God saw the affliction and rebuked Laban. This confession reveals growth in Jacob's faith. He recognizes God's sustaining hand. In verses 43 through 55, Jacob and Laban establish a covenant of peace, setting up a heap of stones as a witness. Though their relationship remains strained, conflict is resolved through boundaries and agreement. And the chapter closes with a separation rather than reconciliation, but also with protection and stability. The chapter, of course, points us to Christ. Just as Jacob was guided and protected through transition and conflict, believers are led and guarded by God's faithfulness through uncertain seasons. Our relationships may falter, but God's presence remains constant. His promises are not threatened by tension or opposition. Today, if you are in a season of transition or conflict, seek God's direction first. Move when he leads. Speak truthfully when needed. And trust that God, who sees your labor, your work, and your affliction, is faithful to protect and guide you into whatever comes next. God bless.